Many Christians know the Beatitudes, but very few Christians understand them. And when the Beatitudes are misunderstood, Christianity itself becomes misunderstood. Because if someone hears, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are those who mourn, blessed are the meek, blessed are those who are persecuted," they may quietly think, so Christianity is about sadness, about weakness, about accepting life as it is, about surviving quietly until heaven. But that is not what Jesus meant, not even close. Let me begin with something very honest. Most people do not come to church because life is easy. They come because life is difficult, because something inside them hurts, because something is broken, because something they trusted failed, because loneliness became too heavy, because anxiety became too strong, because sin became too exhausting. Very few people say, "My life is perfect, everything works, I am successful, I am peaceful, and now I would like to try Christianity." Usually people come because something inside them cannot continue the same way anymore. And that is exactly why the Beatitudes are so dangerous if we misunderstand them. Because someone might think Jesus is saying, "Stay small, stay weak, stay quiet, stay sad, and heaven will reward you later." But Christianity is not a religion of quiet resignation. Christianity is transformation. Look at Jesus carefully. The same Jesus who said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit," also walked into the temple with a whip in his hand. He overturned tables. He confronted corruption. He spoke truth without fear. He did not live a passive life. And the same Jesus who said, "Blessed are those who mourn," also gave his disciples authority over unclean spirits. Authority, not escape, not silence, authority. So something deeper must be happening inside the Beatitudes. Jesus is not describing weak people. He is describing people who discovered a different source of strength. Let us begin with the first Beatitude. Blessed are the poor in spirit. This sentence is often misunderstood. Many people think it means, think less about yourself. Be passive, be invisible, accept everything quietly. But being poor in spirit does not mean being empty. It means knowing your strength does not come from yourself. It means discovering the strength of the Holy Spirit. Our human strength is limited. Our courage sometimes disappears. Our peace sometimes collapses. Our confidence sometimes fails. But the Christian life was never meant to run only on human strength. Think about an old bicycle. You can ride it, but slowly, with effort, with exhaustion. Now imagine the same road with an engine. Suddenly, everything changes. Your effort changes, your speed changes, your possibilities change. Jesus is saying, "Blessed are these who stop pretending they are the engine, because they finally discover the real engine. And the engine is the Holy Spirit." Now listen carefully. Jesus also says, "Blessed are those who mourn." This is one of the strangest sentences in the gospel, because nobody calls mourning a blessing. Nobody wakes up and says, "Today I hope something painful happens," but Jesus says mourning can become a blessing. Why? Because mourning means your heart is alive. A cold heart does not mourn. A cynical heart does not mourn. A closed heart does not mourn. Only a living heart mourns, and God can work with a living heart. Even Jesus cried. He cried at the tomb of Lazarus. He cried over Jerusalem. God is not ashamed of tears. So why are we? Sometimes people sit in church fighting their own emotions, trying not to cry, trying not to show weakness, trying to remain strong in front of others. But the truth is this: it takes courage to cry in front of God, because tears mean honesty, and honesty is where healing begins. Jesus also says, "Blessed are the meek." Today, the word meek sounds weak. It sounds like silence, like surrender, like invisibility. But biblical meekness is not weakness. It is controlled strength. A truly strong person does not need noise. A truly confident person does not need endless arguments. Someone who knows truth does not repeat it again and again to prove it. Truth stands quietly. And that is why meekness is powerful. It is strength without aggression, authority without violence, confidence without insecurity. Jesus himself spoke like this. He spoke once, clearly, directly, and his words changed history. Then Jesus says something even more surprising. Blessed are those who are persecuted. But notice something important. He does not say, blessed are those who suffer. He says, blessed are those who suffer because of me. Because not every suffering is holy suffering. Some suffering comes from mistakes. Some suffering comes from pride. Some suffering comes from bad decisions. But suffering that comes from faithfulness has a completely different meaning. When someone stands for truth and loses something because of it, heaven sees that. When someone defends faith and pays a price for it, heaven sees that. When someone remains honest, even when dishonesty would be easier, heaven sees that. And Jesus says that suffering is blessed. Now here is something many Christians forget. The same Jesus who spoke the Beatitudes also rejoiced in the Holy Spirit. Think about that. Christianity is not only about endurance, it is about joy. But not ordinary joy, not temporary happiness. It is participation in the joy of God. Sometimes we look at successful people and think, they must be happy. But Jesus offers something greater than success. He offers God's joy. And God's joy does not depend on circumstances. It depends on relationship. So when Jesus speaks about the poor in spirit, and those who mourn, and the meek and the persecuted, he is not describing weak people trying to survive life quietly. He is describing people who discovered where real strength comes from. They discovered the Holy Spirit. They discovered truth. They discovered courage. They discovered joy. And that discovery changes everything. Because the Beatitudes are not a description of defeated people. They are a description of transformed people. And transformation begins the moment we stop trusting only ourselves and begin trusting God